What is up, sports fans? This is Opinionated, a sports podcast. This is our first episode. My name is Evan. I'm joined by my co-host, Brian. And this is a sports podcast, as I mentioned before, our first episode. Mainly on this show, we're going to talk about Denver sports. So mainly the Broncos and Nuggets heavily, some Rockies talk as well. But we're also going to touch on sports from a national perspective, whether it be the NBA, whether it be even some fighting at times. But like I said, a bulk of this show is going to be focused on the Broncos mainly, and at times the Nuggets and Rockies, but mainly Denver sports talk. Let's get into the first episode again of this show, Opinionated, and talk about the Broncos free agency. The first free agent that we signed was defensive lineman Clinton McDonald to a 2-year, $7 million deal. He played for Tampa Bay last year. He's also played for Seattle and I believe the Bengals. He had 5 sacks in 2017. So Broncos looking to add, it looks like, interior pass rush. What are your thoughts on the Broncos signing Clinton McDonald and how he fits in with the Broncos front seven, Brian?
I think Clinton McDonald's an interesting signing for the Broncos. Not the most exciting name on the radar for the Broncos, obviously. I think it was a 2-year deal.
Yep, 2 years, $7 million.
I'll take that deal all day for a pass rusher. I mean, obviously we could use some more help rushing the passer, especially after DeMarcus Ware retiring a couple years ago after Super Bowl 50. Von Miller's, I don't want to say looking a little lackluster, but looks like he could use some help on the defensive side of the ball.
Especially after last season, Absolutely. Where he was, it seemed like double team and even triple team consistently. Absolutely. And again, Clinton McDonald, 5 sacks last year for the Buccaneers, so definitely seems will be hopefully an interior pass rushing presence for the Broncos, who desperately needed it last year. Again, we struggled to get to the quarterback. And also a guy that I believe won a Super Bowl with Seattle beating the Broncos. So interesting little note there. Has Super Bowl experience, adding another veteran with championship experience to the defense. The next free agent we signed, another defensive acquisition here for the Broncos, defensive back Tremaine Brock. Another pretty kind of low risk, minimal deal. It seems 1 year, $3 million deal for Tremaine Brock, all guaranteed. So good for him. But Tremaine Brock coming off kind of a rocky year in Minnesota. Obviously the Vikings had a great year, but he only played 11 games there with the Vikings last year. Seems he'll fit in as what the Broncos expect to be their third corner behind Chris Harris and now Bradley Roby. What do you think of the Broncos signing Tremaine Brock, Brian, and how he fits in? And I mean, what do you think of him kind of coming off of an uncertain year there in Minnesota? Again, only 11 games, and is he really... Are you really confident in him being our third corner, I guess, is the question I'm trying to ask you? Because for me personally, I'm a little unsure of adding Tremaine Brock as our nickel corner.
I think the deal speaks for itself. 1 year, $3 million, pretty minimal. I hope. I mean, obviously, as a Bronco fan, I hope he comes in and has an immediate impact with our team and with our secondary, but. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts and responds to the adversity of being a nickel corner in the AFC West as opposed to the NFC. I think he has an opportunity to fit in real well with the rest of our secondary and Bradley Roby and Chris Harris Jr. and Justin Simmons, all of them. I think he'll fit right in. I think he has potential to really impact our football team. Like I said, I hope that's the case. If not, I'm not the most unhappy. It being 1 million or 1 year, $3 million. I can live with that for a year. So for now, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, like you said, I agree. It seems like a pretty low risk deal in terms of like a prove it kind of deal.
Exactly.
And Tremaine Brock again. That didn't have a great year in Minnesota. 11 games, once again, only played last year with the Vikings for Tremaine Brock. But you're talking about a guy that had some great years with the 49ers. His best year came in 2013 where he had 5 interceptions with 13 pass deflections. So this is a guy that can cover. And like you said, being around Bradley Roby, Chris Harris, Justin Simmons, hopefully in this kind of culture of defense that we've built over the past several years, it can kind of elevate his play and get him back to that kind of 2013 form.
And I think being a nickel corner will help with that because
absolutely.
It kind of takes the pressure off of
could be huge.
Not being an every down defensive back, essentially, coming third downs, passing down situations. So there's really not a lot of pressure on the kid. So I think he'll respond well to it.
Now talking about some guys that the Broncos re-signed, two players here real quick. Linebacker Todd Davis and offensive tackle Billy Turner. Going to start with Todd Davis. We re-signed him to a 3-year, $15 million deal. Of course, has been a starter for us at the inside linebacker spot next to Brandon Marshall for the past couple seasons. Had 82 tackles last year in 14 career starts. I believe had 97 tackles the season before. What do you think overall about bringing Todd Davis back, Brian? And do you expect him to maybe partake on a bigger role in 2018 with this new extension? The Broncos kind of showing a little more faith in him. And are you happy to have Todd Davis back?
I'm happy to have him back for sure. Heck of a tackler, heck of a run stopper. Coverage obviously needs some work, but I would say, I mean, with the 3-year, $15 million, I think it's time to go ball out for Todd Davis. You know, like you've been I feel like you've been working up to this point in your career, your whole career, to kind of get this kind of deal, and now you got it. So I'm looking, I'm hoping for production. More so, hopefully, than last year. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll even maybe he even will get his first career interception.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think the coverage, like I said, the coverage is a big question mark, but I'm hopeful that he's addressed that in the off season. Hopefully, becoming a better cover linebacker, and if not, I think the Broncos will have to address that for sure in the passing situations.
Yeah, it seems like the Broncos, with all due respect to Todd Davis, we have like seemingly passed on inside linebackers in the draft.
Hightower,
C.J. Mosley, like time and time again. Yeah. Reuben Foster, most recently, guys that could cover. But nonetheless, I'm happy to have Todd Davis back. Like you said, a guy that's great in the run game, very productive, and a great locker room guy. Couldn't be happier for Todd. And I'm excited to see what he does. I hope he does take that next level and again gets a career interception, gets a couple pass deflections, and kind of alleviates some pressure off Brandon Marshall in terms of the coverage. And as for Billy Turner, again, offensive tackle signed to a 1-year, $2 million deal. You're talking about a guy in Billy Turner, I believe got hurt last year. I want to say tore his ACL or tore his Achilles, and missed most of last year, I believe. But I think mostly bringing back Billy Turner is a sign of the Broncos just trying to add offensive line depth, which of course we know we need. Billy Turner's a guy that's a pretty solid pass blocker, pretty solid run blocker. He's a pretty well-rounded tackle. He's not great by any means, but you're talking about a guy that can be productive if you have to start him at right tackle, is familiar with the offense, but hopefully you would ultimately want as a backup right tackle. Anything stand out with bringing Billy Turner back for you, Brian, or are you kind of on the same notion as me, just bring back a solid, versatile tackle that can hopefully be a backup rather than a starter?
It's just not exciting to me. It's not exciting. A move that would have been exciting perhaps would have been Nate Solder.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have obviously costed a lot more money than signing Billy Turner, but what do you want, man? Do you want to win, or do you want to have mediocre offensive line play?
Absolutely.
So as far as a backup, I think you hit the nail on the head. He can be a tremendous backup offensive tackle, but it's not exciting. I'm not thrilled about it. It's not the answer that we need on the offensive line, but it is what it is, I guess.
I feel the same way, and I'll just say this. I think Billy Turner is a definite upgrade over Donald Stevenson. And
I just got some breaking news, actually. Broncos added a right tackle from the Cardinals, Jared Veldheer.
Jared Veldheer.
So I don't know how that...
So we actually, on our first episode... have some breaking news. We're talking about the Broncos free agency, and they make a move, a trade, right, with the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't know if it's a trade or a free agency, but...
Jared Veldheer, who's, I think, a pretty significant tackle in terms of what the Broncos have at right tackle currently with Billy Turner. And again, no disrespect to Billy Turner. As I was saying, I think he's a definite upgrade from Donald Stevenson, but Jared Veldheer is a guy that I think, if the Broncos are adding, you have Garrett Bowles at the left side, you have him at the right side. That is a significant upgrade from what we've seen from the Broncos, especially over the last 2 to 3 seasons at both the tackle positions. So I'm thrilled to have Jared Veldheer. I think that's an enormous move, and a great. As we're sitting here talking about kind of a May average, just not exciting.
Exactly.
O-line signing. The Broncos literally do that
as we're doing the show.
So
a little bit more information on the news. Looks like we gave up a 6th-round pick for Veldheer. According to Mike Kliss of the Denver Post, he's a 100-game starter at the left tackle. Chances are he'll start at right tackle for the Broncos over Billy Turner, which I think is huge.
Yep, that's perfect.
Absolutely huge. I am all for Billy Turner backing up.
Yeah, like we were
Jared
saying,
Veldheer.
perfect
backup. All for it.
That you hope doesn't have to start.
Exactly.
And now we have Jared Veldheer on the right side. Hopefully Bowles develops on the left side.
And I think that's very exciting for the Broncos.
And
the Broncos country.
A quick question to ask you real quick, Brian, about this trade, I guess, right? You're saying we gave up a 6th-round pick? 7th?
According to Mike Kliss, correct.
So pretty good value as well to get a veteran in Jared Veldheer. I believe he's had some injury issues there in his time in Arizona, so you hope he can stay healthy. But again, a 100-game starter. I believe a guy that's been a Pro Bowler as well. I don't have the exact numbers in front of my face right now because, again, this is breaking news. This just happened.
Right.
But also kind of fits our style of getting more physical on the offensive line.
Absolutely.
Kind of a more meaner demeanor.
I think that's what the Broncos have really been lacking in the locker room.
Absolutely.
Physicality and leadership. No question.
I think he'll. This is a guy you hope will also help Garrett Bowles come along. As you said, a guy that's primarily played left tackle. He knows the pressures of being a young franchise left tackle, and can help Garrett Bowles deal with that and hopefully develop. But again, I think either way, you could even maybe put Jared Veldheer on the left side and go Garrett on the right side. You can kind of mix and match whatever you feel is best for your offense. And again, now you have Billy Turner, who ironically we were just talking about, can back up either Veldheer or Garrett Bowles at the right tackle spot and add that, a solid backup at that position. So this is just enormous and a big move by the Broncos, adding Jared Veldheer, a significant upgrade at the offensive line position, again for a 6th-round pick. That's, I'd say, pretty solid value.
I'd say that's pretty good value for a 6th-round pick.
So,
absolutely.
Oh, and the quick question I was going to ask you, sorry I spaced it for a second. There's been a lot of talk, and mock drafts seem all over the place right now, whether ESPN, Bleacher Report, wherever you get your news from, Fox Sports. But Quentin Nelson is a guy that obviously the Broncos have been linked to, would definitely be a guy that we should be interested in at number 5. With adding Jared Veldheer, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Adding him now, you got him at right tackle, Matt Paradis at center, Garrett Bowles left tackle, we're assuming this. Do you still go Quentin Nelson at 5 if the board falls right to slot him at either guard position, or does Veldheer now do enough for you to where Quentin Nelson is out of question at number 5? I guess is what I'm asking you if you were in John Elway's shoes. What's your thinking now in terms of Quentin Nelson as a prospect at number 5?
I think Quentin Nelson at 5 is even more of a possibility now. Why not just juice up this offensive line?
Yep. Give Case Keenum
Broncos country knows we need it. We gotta protect. We have to protect our quarterback.
Yep.
We have to. In my opinion, I don't think Trevor has the same year as he did last year if we have a better offensive line. And take that as you will, but I think John Elway with this move of signing Veldheer, I think Quentin Nelson is even more of a possibility for the Broncos at 5.
That's kind of a great segue into the new quarterback that Jared Veldheer will now be blocking for in the Broncos' most significant free agent signing. Actually, probably the first quarterback domino and just domino free agency in general this year in 2018 to kind of set everything off.
Definitely.
And that is, of course, the Broncos signing quarterback Case Keenum. 2-year deal, $36 million, $25 million guaranteed. Case definitely getting paid. Good for him. Great guy that's played for, I believe, 4 teams, something along those lines. Has ties to the Broncos organization, played in Houston under Gary Kubiak, knows Vance Joseph from his time there as well. And is coming off a great year with the Minnesota Vikings, where he led them to an NFC championship and really played well. 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Just a great year overall for Case Keenum. And he is now the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. I'll kick it to you, Brian. What's your thoughts? Roll with it.
I love it. 2 years, $36 million, $25 million guaranteed. In today's quarterback market, that's almost unheard of.
Absolutely.
For a quarterback who went to the NFC Championship the previous year.
One win away from it.
I know Joe Flacco won one Super Bowl and then got paid
He's making $20 million a year.
Ridiculous amount. Yep. So in today's quarterback market, I like the 2-year deal, only $25 million guaranteed. If he does go the full contract, it'll be 36. That's $18 million a year. I can live with that. We're not married to him, as some people would say. It's a 2-year deal, so you're not committed long term to him, as the Lions are and Matt Stafford, the 49ers are and Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think that puts the Broncos in a good position to really feel out if Case Keenum is the answer for the Broncos at quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we're not married to him, and I hope people understand this. A lot has been made about us signing Case Keenum, taking quarterback completely out of the question for us at pick number 5 if we stay there and ultimately draft at that pick. And I think that's just completely foolish and nonsense. The Broncos have actually attended every quarterback's pro day since signing Case Keenum. I believe Baker Mayfield, they just attended Josh Allen's pro day today. Josh Rosen as well. Sam Darnold, I believe they saw as well. And I believe they plan on being at Lamar Jackson's pro day as well. I think the notion that Case Keenum is the franchise guy or the guy now for the Broncos, I think is a little foolish, but he's definitely the starter as of right now.
He is the starter.
And I think that's okay.
I know what John always said, and we got our guy and our starting quarterback. He is the starting quarterback.
Absolutely.
He's our guy for now.
Yep, for 2 years.
For 2 years, for now. Obviously, actions speak a lot louder than words. When you're sending 7 people from the Broncos organization to go watch Baker Mayfield at his pro day, yep. I mean, that's
pretty significant.
That's obviously saying
most
that
of any team at the
we're still considering a quarterback at 5.
Yep. Doesn't mean we will, but like you said,
right.
We're definitely considering, and the options there. But
it's not off the table for sure.
Nonetheless, adding Case Keenum, I'm excited. I think it's a definite upgrade from, with all due respect, Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, and Brock Osweiler, who actually has now moved on. He is signed with the Miami Dolphins. So I think that's huge. This is a guy that I think is more capable than all 3 of them. He's a definite upgrade. I think you give him DT, Emmanuel Sanders, you give him C.J. Anderson, you give him an emerging young tight end and Jake Budd, a young slot receiver in Carlos Henderson, who knows what he could be. There's a lot to work with here. Now this offensive line, which is improving with 2 really good bookend tackles in Bowles and Veldheer, I think Case Keenum could have do some things in Denver. And I think on the flip side of things, these people that are so pissed that we didn't get him and we didn't sign Kirk Cousins, like Brian mentioned, Kirk Cousins got 3 years, $84 million guaranteed. I don't think that was really, we weren't in that play there. That doesn't make sense for our team right now, timing-wise, in our roster. And I think Case Keenum, the people that are upset with it, I think it's actually, I don't understand that. I think he's a very solid, serviceable starter. Completed 68% of his passes last year, which was 2nd in the league. Had 3 game-winning drives. Again, had a lot of talent around him, and Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph and
Adam Thielen didn't even break out until this year.
And that might be even better point. So what does that say?
Case Keenum is a competitor, man. He's going to come in to Denver as the starter, and whoever the Broncos do pick at 5, whether it be a quarterback, if it be a quarterback, he's going to go out and compete for that starting job. He knows it's not promised to him. He knows that the Broncos are in the winning business, as every NFL team should be. So I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to play well. I think he's going to compete and earn that starting job for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is a guy that has proven himself and was 1 win away from a Super Bowl. Again, you got to give the Vikings defense and Mike Zimmer.
Who lost, and the Vikings lost to the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, and give you got to give all the team credit, but Case was a big reason for that. And like you said, has really helped the progression of Adam Thielen.
Absolutely.
And was a big reason that team and offense kept afloat this year after losing Sam Bradford in Game 1. And I think you're talking about a guy that will be great in our locker room and is a leader that we really need at that position. Again,
I think Case Keenum is a better quarterback than Sam Bradford.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he showed that, and I think you're talking about a guy that, does he have the biggest arm? No, but good touch, good accuracy, makes quick decisions.
And he's tough.
Will stand in the pocket until he has to make the throw. Mm-hmm. And is he Michael Vick? No, but he's mobile enough to make a play with his feet every now and then when a play breaks down.
If need be. Right.
So I'm really excited to have the guy, and congratulations to him first and foremost on getting that deal, and I look forward to seeing what he does as the starter. So Case Keenum is now the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, and like me and Brian said, for the most part, we're in favor of this, but I think people should not get it twisted that this is a long-term solution at the quarterback position. Again, a guy just turned 30 years old, still young enough, and definitely has some productive years left, but the long-term answer for the quarterback position for the Denver Broncos, and I'll even make a bold statement, is this: since John Elway, we have not found that answer in terms of a long-term franchise quarterback. We thought we had it in Jay Cutler. That was fool's gold. We thought we had it in Paxton Lynch. That might have even been worse. And I'll be the first to admit I was a believer in Paxton Lynch as well. So complete miss on, I think, all accounts from Denver there. So that answer still isn't solved, but Case Keenum, like Brian said, is a guy that will definitely make us better than 5-11 right now. And I'm
especially with the signing of, or with the trade of
Veldheer. Yeah, and giving him some protection on both sides now. Sure. So it's great to have Case Keenum. And real quick, to just wrap up the Broncos off-season moves before we get into this little mock draft that each one of us is going to do, we want to talk about the 2 trades the Broncos made. And that is, of course, we traded Aqib Talib to the LA Rams, and we traded Trevor Siemian, to the Minnesota Vikings. In both those trades, late-round draft picks were exchanged, and the Broncos now, I believe, have 11 draft picks in total. So flexibility is key in the draft, and damn, do we have a lot of ammunition. But nonetheless, trading 2 guys that I think, especially in terms of Aqib Talib, have been significant parts of our organization and team for the past couple years. Aqib Talib, of course, helped helm that great defense that led us to Super Bowl 50. You're talking about a guy, 6 of his 11 interceptions were pick sixes in Denver, so always made plays and brought a real feistiness to this defense. But Brian, what do you think of these 2 trades of the Broncos? And in a nutshell, I guess, what do you think of Aqib Talib and Trevor Siemian's time as Denver Broncos?
Trevor Siemian, he'll be a serviceable backup.
Yeah,
for Kirk Cousins in Minnesota.
Fits perfect for his role there. Absolutely.
I wish I could say I'll miss him, but I won't, honestly. I think he has a better fit for him and his skill set in Minnesota. And I think it was time for the Broncos to move on from Trevor Siemian. As far as Aqib Talib, we are going to miss his presence in the locker room, I think. He did have a lot to do with the no-fly zone as far as attitude and nastiness, as you were saying, which you definitely want on a football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I know Von Miller's not the most nasty or the most leader kind of guy, so I'm definitely going to miss that from Aqib. I will not miss his salary, however.
Yep.
Although
Broncos saved $12 million or something like that with this trade.
So it's Bradley Roby time.
Absolutely.
I think Bradley Roby is perfectly capable of filling Talib's shoes as the number 2 corner on this team. Maybe even the number 1, who knows? But I think Talib. I'll miss Talib, but I think Talib is in a great spot in LA.
Yeah, Marcus Peters are perfect.
Reunited with Wade Phillips.
Yep.
Obviously, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos during the Super Bowl 50 run.
Guy that got the best out of him.
Absolutely. Sure. So I think I'm going to miss Talib. I'm going to miss his skill set, his presence, won't miss his salary, and I think he's going to ball out in LA.
I agree totally, and I think Aqib, outside of Champ Bailey, maybe the best corner the Broncos have possibly ever had. But you know me, Brian. Bradley Roby is a guy I have been banging the table for since we drafted. I believe so much in this kid. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's the same age as me, but regardless, you get my point. I believe in this guy so much, and I can't wait to see him get the chance now. It's him and Chris Harris, and I think this kid's going to have a great year. And again, I mentioned the stat of Aqib Talib had 6 of his 11 interceptions were for pick sixes in his time in Denver. I believe Bradley Roby has 6 interceptions. 2 of those 6 have gone for pick sixes. So
as a nickel corner.
Yeah, and a guy that's only started 14 games.
Right.
So there's some potential there to replace that. And Justin Simmons has shown his ability to be a ball hawk as well. So I'm excited to see this youth kind of take over, but by no means am I sour towards Aqib Talib. I wish him the best of luck, and like you said, couldn't fall on a better situation in LA and playing next to a guy who's a younger version of him probably.
Absolutely.
In Marcus Peters. And as for Trevor Siemian, I will say, like Brian, I don't think he's necessarily a huge loss for our team, but I will always respect him for playing through that shoulder injury for that season that he did. And he did the best with what he was given. And if Kirk Cousins goes down, god damn, he's got a great situation in Minnesota to come into and take over and hopefully win some ball games for them up north. So that's kind of our take on all the Broncos free agency and trades. To finish this first episode of Opinionated, we're going to do a mock draft, only 5 picks each. I'm going to let Brian kick this off for you guys. Again, we're going to do the first 5 picks with the Broncos picking number 5. There's obviously a lot of talk around the draft this year and this offseason for the Broncos.
Number 1, I have the Browns selecting Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC. That seems to be the general consensus of mocks recently.
Ever since the pro day, it seems
like it seems like Sam Darnold's a lock for number 1. It seems like that as of right now. Number 2, I have the Giants taking Saquon Barkley. Might shock some people, them passing on a quarterback, but I don't think they can pass up a running back prospect like Saquon, and I think that Eli Manning does have a couple more years left in the tank, so I don't think they go quarterback at 2. Number 3, we have the Jets trading up with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, huge trade.
To get Josh Allen. In any NFL fan who follows offseason knows that Josh Allen has been having a heck of a offseason, I guess you could say.
Draft process right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pre-workouts.
From his performance in the Potato Bowl to the Senior Bowl to the Combine and now to his pro day, he is just blowing the roof.
Yep.
Off of these scouts, it seems like.
Seems like his value skyrocketed more than any player.
No question. I could see him going 1.
Yep, absolutely at this
honestly. Point. But number 4, the Browns again. I have taken Bradley Chubb. I think Bradley Chubb can be a huge addition to Myles Garrett on the defensive line of that team.
Great 1-2 punch.
Absolutely. God knows they need help on the defensive side of the ball. God knows they need help on the offensive side of the ball, hence Sam Darnold. But I think Bradley Chubb makes this football team instantly better. Number 5, I have a couple different things here, couple different scenarios. I originally said that. Well, let me just start by saying if the Broncos stay at 5, if they stay at 5, I can see us taking Josh Rosen or Minkah Fitzpatrick, probably Minkah Fitzpatrick given the Case Keenum signing and the 5th overall pick.
Yeah, being paid $18.5 million with the signing bonus.
Yeah,
could be some issues paying 2 quarterbacks $18 million.
Absolutely. So I think. If the Broncos don't go quarterback, I think it's a lock for Minkah Fitzpatrick, staring at us right in the face at 5. If they stay at 5. Now, if they don't stay at 5, I could see the Bills trading up to 5 to get a quarterback, whether it be Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, whoever that may be. I could see the Bills moving back, or moving up with the Broncos, and the Broncos moving back to acquire that 12 overall and 22 overall first-round picks from the Bills. And if that's the case, I'm all for that. Yeah. I would love to see that.
I agree 100%.
Especially with the Veldheer signing, the Case Keenum signing. It doesn't seem like we need, maybe not need, but our highest priority may not be the quarterback position right now. Evan asked me earlier in the show if Quentin Nelson is still on the table at 5. I think he is on the table at 5. I would love the Broncos to pick him if he falls at 12.
That'd be a steal.
That would be a steal. That would be a home run, I think, at 12. And if that were to happen, maybe the Broncos go Quentin Nelson at 12, and then maybe Calvin Ridley at 22, or Darius Geist at 22.
Give Case another weapon.
Or even, it depends on how much you want a skill player. You could even go, let's say Minkah Fitzpatrick drops to 12, and then Will Hernandez at 22.
Or maybe even go another edge rusher at 12, like Tremaine Edmonds.
Exactly.
Marcus Davenport.
So I think if the Broncos were to trade out of 5, I think that would give them even more options.
Absolutely.
For instant impact players right off the bat.
If we're really trying to win now.
Win now, absolutely.
So I think I could definitely see the Broncos going, if we stay at 5, Minkah Fitzpatrick, what he would do for our secondary.
I
think it'd be pretty significant.
Personally, I'd like to see the Broncos move back, but yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick at 5, I'm all in on.
So that's Brian's top 5 in his mock draft 1.0. My mock draft 1.0 at number 1, I have a lot of similar picks here. I also have Sam Darnold, quarterback out of USC. Again, it seems ever since the pro day there's that consensus. Jimmy Haslam, the owners of the Browns, was meeting and chatting with Sam Darnold's parents. Sam Darnold put on a show. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft in terms of throwing on the run. And it just seems like right now that's kind of the match made in heaven. So I agree with Brian. I got Sam Darnold going number 1. At number 2, I have a surprise here, and I think this is more a philosophy pick with the Giants. And also I think they believe what Brian said. They think there's some gas left in the tank for Eli, and they think there's still a run. One of the things the Giants were so abysmal at last year, if not the thing they were worst at, was protecting Eli Manning. Right. So I think at number 2, they're going to go Quentin Nelson, guard out of Notre Dame, which would be a shock, would change some draft.
Be a heck of a pick for them.
Would be a heck of a pick. I love this kid so much. I love the way he plays the game. Nasty, physical, mean. Their biggest strength, or biggest weakness, excuse me, which was protecting Eli Manning last year. I think this guy would come in and really, really solve that issue for them. At pick number 3, I also agree with Brian. I think the Jets trading up with the Colts, the timing of it, Josh Allen's pro day, his whole pre-draft process, blowing it up the way he has, I'm willing to say right now I think he's got the best arm talent of any draft of all time. His arm is just freakish. That doesn't mean he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but I think the Jets have fallen in love with him, as I'm sure a lot of teams have, and I think he'd fit great there. Could sit behind Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater, learn for a year or two, and take over the reins. Could be the best quarterback they've had since Joe Namath. And at pick 4, I also agree with Brian once again. The Browns going Sam Darnold 1, go Bradley Chubb, get the best edge rusher probably in the draft, pair him up with Myles Garrett, that 1-2 punch. If you can't get to the quarterback there, someone's got to be fired in terms of the defensive coordinator and a defensive line coach. And then at pick number 5, I like what Brian said. I think the trading back option should be the top option. I think getting multiple picks, maybe trading back to see how the board falls for you, and really getting some maybe impact players now would be the best thing for the Broncos and the current roster in case Keenum. And I think this guy, or I think that would be the best scenario for the Broncos to do. But I think if the Broncos stay at number 5, I hope they take a quarterback. And I wouldn't mind if it's Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, or Baker Mayfield. Any of those 3 guys I would love to have. But I think if we stay at 5 and the board falls this way, I think the Broncos would go Saquon Barkley, running back out of Penn State. I'm willing to say right now, hands down, put any reputation, as little as it is that I have on the line, that Saquon Barkley is the best running back prospect of all time. Name a guy, I would take him over. I think you're talking about a 3-down back. I know there's been some talk lately he's overrated, he's a scat back, but you're talking about a guy that can do it all. He can pass block. He's a great receiver. I think he's a more athletic, bigger physical, better receiving version of Todd Gurley. He's maybe not as smooth as Todd Gurley, but he's a freak. And to add him next to Case Keenum, DT, Emmanuel Sanders, Jake Budd, with Veldheer, Matt Paradis, and Bulls blocking for him, if you can't win with that, if you can't win more than 5 games with that, there's obviously got to be some major changes or some major injuries went wrong. But I think Saquon Barkley would be a great fit. And also going to give you the option to maybe trade C.J. Anderson, get free of that contract, and maybe get an additional pick. So that's my mock draft. Any reaction to that, Brian, or any reactions to those possible scenarios and how that would affect us at 5 getting Barkley, or maybe some of those other picks for the Jets, Browns, Giants?
I mean, if Saquon Barkley is staring at you in the face at 5, I don't know how you don't take him, honestly.
Obviously, you don't think he's getting to 5.
I don't think he's getting to 5. Yeah. If it's a different situation with quarterbacks, I am such a big believer in Baker Mayfield. I think this kid has every single tool, every ounce of competitiveness to be successful in this league. And if it were me, I'd get Baker Mayfield at 5, no questions asked, without even thinking twice about it. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case. I think, like I said, if Saquon Barkley is staring at you in the face at 5, I don't know how the Broncos don't take him. Mm-hmm. Even if the Bills. Even if the Bills call up to trade up.
Too good to pass up.
I think so, because he's not falling to 12.
Yeah, no way he's falling to 12. I don't think he's falling past 6, honestly. I think his floor is probably Indy at 6. But I'm with you. I'm such a believer in Baker Mayfield. Like I said, I would prefer the Broncos at 5 if we stay there to draft one of those 3 guys, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, or Baker Mayfield. And I'll be the first to say all 5 of these guys, quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold included, I think are all studs, and I think if they get the right situation, can be franchise guys. But it'd be nice to get Saquon. It would be a nutty feeling, but it'd also be great to get Baker Mayfield as well.
I think if we got Saquon with our recent trade with Veldheer, yep. Who knows?
Yeah, we could be right back in the mix.
And then we could be looking at Will Hernandez maybe in the early 2nd round, or maybe we trade back into the late 1st round to go get him.
And then really upgrade that O-line. Yeah. A guy that's maybe not Quentin Nelson, but not much worse. So
yeah,
could be still a significant upgrade.
You got to give your Broncos some room to gallop, for lack of a better term.
Especially to get Saquon, because there's a whole lot of horsepower behind that guy.
No question.
And a lot of playmaking ability. You're talking about one of the biggest home run hitters, I think, in college football in the past 5 to 10 years, and would be a great addition. Just the Broncos, if you make that move and again get a Will Hernandez, and just the moves they're making right now, you're definitely in win now mode, and you'd be right back in the mix of things. And John Elway in the past, I think, didn't really do a great job of giving Trevor Siemian, the best help, or Ben Joseph for that matter, the best. And I think this would kind of make up for that, so to say. So,
absolutely.
That's the first episode of Opinionated. Again, this is our new podcast. Please leave a comment below, guys. Let us know what you thought of the show, all the topics we covered, Broncos free agency, our mock draft, both our picks. If you hated it, if you loved it, what do you guys disagree with, agree with? We'd love to hear everything from you guys in the comments below. Like or dislike, rate the video, please. It helps grow the video and get the attention out there. And if you really like what you heard, I really appreciate you hit the subscribe button so you can listen to more of the episodes when they come out and when we do episode 2. And I guess go along the ride with us. So that's episode 1, guys. Anything to say, Brian?
It's been fun, Broncos country. We'll see you next time.
Yep. So that's a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching. That's episode 1 of Opinion. And as always, go Broncos.